Yo, what's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Man, a lot of people have been putting me on some really good music. And a while back, we started exploring an artist by the name of Lupe Fiasco. I'm familiar with Lupe. He's from Chicago. That's where I'm originally from as well. And I've been telling people, yo, we're gonna get into his work, right? We're gonna get into it. We're gonna explore. We're gonna do breakdowns. For whatever reason, I've always overlooked look past Lupe, right? It just it uh, wasn't something I was really attracted to. I heard some of the music earlier, and I was like, man, it's so dense. But honestly, I got fed up with hip hop a few years ago, and it just seemed like everything was the same. And I started looking at blues. I started going to oldies and jamming to some Louis Armstrong and some Ella Fitzgerald and Etta James. But now that we started this channel, it's kind of cool because I get to revisit a lot of stuff that I think most people have. So we've been checking out Marlon Craft. All of his new music is new to me. I just found out about Akala, Toby Wigway, even a lot of J. Cole is stuff that I haven't heard before. But I've been really impressed with ASAP Rock. Man, that has been some of the toughest, the most challenging to break down and do like an intellectual breakdown. If you're new to the channel, that's what we do, right? We're not just trying to listen to the music. It's not even really just a reaction, but we're trying to break down the lyrics and understand really what they mean. And it's fun because, this is something where normally lyrics mean different things to different people. So just because your interpretation is one way and mine is one way, it doesn't mean that one of us is right and one of us is wrong. It just means our life experiences are coming into play, right? That we're interpreting it different. Think of Slumdog Millionaire, right? It's not something you don't always learn these things, but you experience things and then you learn from them. So really excited to get into this one. It's called Murals. It looks like I was looking for something that's not just like a 2 minute track, right? Something that's a little bit more, you can kind of get into the flow a bit. It seems like so many artists right now are just putting out music that's like 2 minutes in length. I listened to some of the new Kanye West, the Donda too. Man, I was just disappointed. There was just no substance at all. 2 minute tracks. It did have sick beats. Beats were sick, but really excited to get into more intellectual hip hop. And man, Chicago's own Lupe Fiasco. Let's check him out. And just early warning, my daughter was a little bit sick yesterday, so she's in the other room. If you hear some Gabby's Playhouse in the back, it's not part of the track, okay? That's a long intro right there. Kind of got the. Ooh. Hear a little piano. I hear one of those things. What is it called when you, it's got like the seeds in it and you push it down, it goes, and then you flip it over, and there's like beans in it or something.
Yeah.
I really hope the lyrics are right. I try to break down some Aesop Rock. I still don't know if I got it mostly right, or I guess that's based on interpretation, right? Because the lyrics, it would say one thing, and I was like, man, I know my ears aren't playing tricks on me. I actually bought these to help go with the logo. Go with the logo. We've been getting a little bit of an echo on some of our videos, and I was playing around with the acoustics in the room. I tried to jump to a smaller room, but I ended up just picking up some good headphones, some Sony ones, professional grade. They had excellent reviews. So I'm going to set this up later. So in the future, I can switch back to my main computer, that it has a better camera on it, but it just, the echo was just crazy. But I bought an incredible mic. Anyway, let's get back into the music.
We're all chemicals, vitamins and minerals, and Vicodin we're in the tubes wrapped around the arm. To see the vein, vitamins and minerals.
Gotta run that back a little bit. I wasn't ready. Let me get a redo.
Yeah. We're all chemicals, vitamins and minerals, and Vicodin we're in the tubes wrapped around the arm. To see the vein like a chicken on the bond. Top cat chat, let's begin another yawn. This flying sausage.
All right, that's a lot. He said we're all chemicals, vitamins, and minerals. Okay, so we're all kind of a carbon, right? We're all matter. All lives matter. I don't know. I don't want to go there, right? No, but this is way before that. It looks like this song released in 2015. It's now the start of 2022. So I would imagine this was even before. What was it? What was Obama? He was 08 to 12, 12 to 16, and Trump was 2016. So this was released after. I'm sorry, before Trump was even in office. And that's the thing that before I do love my politics, but I always stayed away from Lupe Fiasco because I was like, it's too political. It's too, there's something else that was going with it. But yeah, I did hear kick, push, coast, and I was like, ooh, that's probably one of the only tracks I can name for Lupe Fiasco. Oh no, we did one. We actually did one on this channel, and I've been meaning to. I'm going to write them on the board. I've been wanting to use the board a bit more. I used to just use it for classes that I take, but I want to try to make a list of different artists because now it's getting. We're about 500-600 subscribers, and I'm getting things from different places. Like, hey, Tyler, the creator. Hey, check out Marlon. And I'm always like, yeah. Oh, I got to get to that. But then I look back and I'm like, what was that one song, right? So I'm going to start using the board and just kind of incorporating that into what we do here. And you guys would be pretty happy. We actually got a phone number that's associated with what we do here. So we can kind of have some fun with that and incorporate that into what we do. So it's going to be sick, man. Run it back again because I wasn't ready.
We're all chemicals, vitamins and minerals, and Vicodin we're in the tubes wrapped around the arm.
Now, see, I can relate to that because for those that you might be new to the channel, I'm multiracial. That's hence the name Blackish University. I identify as black. My mom was black. She was the one that raised me as a single mom. But I'm actually mixed with Mexican. My dad was all Mexican. He grew up in Texas before they moved to Chicago. But I didn't really know that side of the family. I don't really know either side too well. But I identify as black because my mom was black and she raised me. And my uncle was black and he helped raise me. But my real dad, he struggled with substance abuse, weed, coke, liquor, heroin, and the heroin was ultimately what killed him. He was just, he struggled with it his entire life. Entire time that I somewhat knew him, he was selling heroin as well as using heroin. And even later in life, when he was trying to get off heroin, it was still methadone, which is what you do to kind of bring someone down slowly from heroin. But there's still somewhat of a high, right? So you're still not dealing with someone's authentic self. It's ugly, right? There's addiction in a lot of our lives. I'm from the inner city of Chicago, so I did have to deal with that as well. But I recognize, when you're saying inner tubes wrapped around the arm, they're supposed to use something that's rubber, something sterile. You tie it around your arm, and it helps get the veins going, right? If you ever given blood or so, you're probably familiar with that. It's not an inner tube, but as you know, people that are addicts are known to improvise, right? So what is he talking about? We're all chemicals, vitamins and minerals. Vicodin. Vicodin is, you'll hear a lot of people that are addicted not to drugs like heroin, but they're addicted to prescription pain medication, which can be just as deadly. So again, he's talking about drug abuse. And he said to see the vein, obviously the vein that you're shooting up in, like a chicken on the barn. Top Cat chat. Is he talking about the cartoon Top Cat? Remember that? I was probably dating myself. I was born in '82. Let's begin another yarn. Top Cat chat. To see the vein, like a chicken on the barn. Chicken? Why would a chicken be on the barn? A vein, like a weather vein. Okay. And I think it's important. Top Cat chat. Let's begin another yarn. What is Top Cat, right? Top Cat was a American cartoon, right? It was like an animated cartoon. It was actually earlier work. This is a part of that kind of Hanna-Barbera production team. I always joke about this. It's like, man, if you're not familiar, it's one of those production companies that they were involved so heavily with the cartoon production of yesteryear. So many great hits and classics. If you think you haven't seen a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, you're mistaken, right? Just something I like looking at, because when we do these videos, I try to look for consistencies, right? Look for themes. Look for, he might be talking about Vicodin and inner tubes, and then go into a different form of drug, right? You have to be kind of ready to anticipate metaphors or homonyms or synonyms. And I love that. It's kind of like a word puzzle for me, right? But anyway, Top Cat, it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was one of the original cartoons that would broadcast kind of prime time, right? And remember, this was not like today. This is something it's got to be 60s or 70s, because this was old when I was a baby, right? Things that were newer for my generation were like Transformers, He-Man, and Heathcliff. The Top Cat was already kind of a classic then. But that's Top Cat. Again, it's a cartoon production company. And it's actually funny because there's kind of a story behind it, right? Top Cat, and it'll be interesting to see how this is incorporated into the video. But Top Cat, he had a whole group, right? He had a gang, and they were inspired by what they called East Side kids, right? They were kind of mischievous, very streetwise dudes, and they constantly had these get-rich-quick schemes, right? And it's kind of like there's always the plot is based around some sort of authority, right, that you're running from or whatnot. And in this case, it was this local cop who would always try to get them out of the alley, and they used to use the police box phone. You probably don't know that if you're a youngster, because we obviously didn't have cell phones. There were pay phones around, but there were box phones that would connect you with operators, and there were police phones that officials could pick up a phone and use to connect with someone. Again, communication was a lot different back in the day, but they used to play around with that a lot, especially because of the time frame for the cartoon. Let's let it ride.
Vitamins and minerals and Vicodin with inner tubes wrapped around the arm. To see the vein like a chicken on the bun.
Yeah, so he said, vein. There's different ways, right? We talk about homonyms and synonyms and right, the different types of wordplay. And we know Lupe Fiasco is just amazing with his words. I do know that about Lupe. So he's got some, could he be talking? He's talking about a vein in the arm, right? But could he be talking about someone being vain, right? Being vain. If you're not, it's like you think extremely highly of yourself based on your appearance, right? You tie your appearance with your worth, right? You're very vain. But I think what he's referring to is a weather vane or a wind vane, right? Because listen to what he says. He says to see the vein, right? We're obviously thinking of somebody shooting up with inner tube, or we're thinking that vein. But he said, see the vein like a chicken on the barn, right? That's a little bit different. A lot of people used to call it, I know, because I used to joke with my friends, and I'd be like, hey, man, I'm going to get one of those, and anytime I got a girl and I bring her to my house, I'm going to be like, hey, you want to see my cock? Stupid joke, I know, and it'll probably get me arrested in this kind of Me Too age, right? But some of those are called weather cocks or weather vane or wind vane. It just basically shows the direction of the wind, right? It's it's you place it on the highest point of a building and it spins around, but a lot of them have a cock or a rooster or a chicken on it, right? Um, but yeah, so that's what I've gotten from that first part. I said, let's begin another yarn. Begin another yarn. That's interesting. He's talking about Top Cat, right? So you're talking about Top Cat. Obviously, cats play with balls of yarn, but also think about what it means when you're starting a new. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to knit or did any sewing or whatnot, but let's say if you're making something with yarn and you're kind of weaving, when you let's say if you run out of that ball of yarn, you have to integrate one piece of yarn with the other piece of yarn. And there's methods for how you do it, right? Because if you just tie it, you're going to get a knot that's going to show in your work. So there's ways that you can intertwine it, which is just a really cool way of saying something. So it sounds like he might be starting to twist something or show us a little play on words, right? Let's begin another yarn. It's different. It's like it's so twisted, it's so intertwined, but it's all part of one story, right? That's at least what I'm thinking thus far. But yeah, let's get into it.
Mural chemicals, vitamins and minerals, and Vicodin within the tubes wrapped around the arm. To see the vein like a chicken on the bond. Top cat chat, let's begin another yarn. Let's fly sausage cheese, or is it chicken palm? But roosters don't fly like boosters don't fly. So what powers cowards to get them to the top? Just to fall asleep, listen in the block.
Okay. The food reference. Flying saucer cheese, I guess I get that. I don't know if that's a specific type of cheese. I'm not familiar with the type of metaphor for that. But chicken parm, that's chicken parmesan. It uses a parmesan cheese. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll have to listen to the other sentences to see if there's context. But I really like the roosters don't fly, right? Give me 1 second here. Already got paused. My daughter's going in there, grab some vanilla wafers from somewhere. If I don't pay attention, she'll go through this whole bag. So I got to monitor it. She's not feeling too good today. But okay, where were we? Oh, roosters don't fly. Again, comparing it to the weathercock, right, or the weather vane. This is, I can't keep saying cock, right? I'm gonna start getting pop-ups for all sorts of weird stuff because Google, Amazon, Facebook are listening. They're gonna be, we got someone else looking for the cock, right? I'm gonna start getting my wife will come home, look at my computer, and be like, "What are you into?" But no, he said, can roosters fly, right? Or roosters don't fly. Roosters can. No, they can get up, but they can only go short distances, right? They're not going to be flying to the west coast and migrating, right? But if you get a chicken or a rooster startled, they can jump over a fence. But it's the height and distance is even less than your average chicken, right? They jump and they flap their wings, and they can scale objects, if you would. But a booster, that's interesting what he said. Roosters don't fly like boosters don't buy. What's a booster, right? That's somebody who steals something. That's kind of like urban terminology. And in today's day and age, again, if I'm saying booster, I'm probably going to get a bunch of vaccine information sent and pop-ups, right? Because you think of booster shots with vaccinations. But a booster in an urban sense, someone that steals from retail stores, right? They normally try to flip it. So they'll have a team, they'll run some sort of scheme, and they'll get stuff from a store, and that's boosting it. And they'll normally post up somewhere they know they could sell illegal goods, right? I had guys that they would rent a booth at a barber shop, but they're not cutting hair, right? They're flipping something, just like they used to sell DVDs. Some dudes would steal carpets and things that are wholesale, hit the trucks, hit the trains, right? And people sell things and they flip it for a discounted price. Like, yo, I got women's clothes, bro, size 8 through size 12. I got mad stuff. And you're like, dude, you only got size 8 through 12? That's it. Well, why do you think? Because when they boosted it, when they took it, they only were able to get a selection. They either grabbed it from a store, they got it from a truck, they were all put together. That's why they don't have a variety of different sizes and colors. They got what they got, and you want it, you can get a great deal, right? That's that street economy. Let's let it ride a little bit. So what powers cowards to get them to the top just to fall asleep listening to Bach? Now that's there's a variety of different ways that we can interpret that. What powers cowards, right? Someone who's cowardly to get to the top and they fall asleep listening to Bach. Now, what is Bach, right? That's high end classical music, more intellectual music. Um, this could be about different things. This could, he hasn't really gotten to anything yet except for the drugs. But this could be talking about corporations, fall asleep listening about. This could be talking about music. Um, this could be talking about anybody who gets to the top and either is bored or they fall asleep, right? So what I'm thinking of is somebody who's what powers cowards, somebody getting a police organization, right? The powers cowards gets them to just to fall asleep listening to Bach, right? But somebody who's moving up within an organization, but they're obviously it could be getting slept on, right? It could be getting slept on. It could be getting bored. But there's probably more of a meaning there that we're just not getting to yet.
Ribbon to get them to the top, just to fall asleep, listening to Bach. The ribbon in the sky is the ribbon that I drop, dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock. That lacks meaning, but racks up stacks of fat reading to catch cheap and wrapped up plants from trap dealings. Now what's a coffin with a scratch ceiling? And what's the talking without the match feeling? That's berry living and cherry picking every lemon from your berry system, then proceed with the pack feeding. When I was young, I had visions of another world, sneaking looks at the pawn stash of my brother Hurl. Incense smoke made vortices and other curls, casting calls from porn films and ad space for rubber girls. I like my pancakes cut in swirls, Moroccan moles and undercover swirls. I like cards.
Okay, so.
And then proceed with the pack feeding. When I was young, I had.
So it sounds like he might be talking about music. Let's run it back. I want to get context.
Vitamins and minerals and Vicodin within the tubes wrapped around the arm. To see the vein like a chicken on the bond. Top cat chat, let's begin another yawn. Let's flying sausage cheese, or is it chicken palm? But roosters don't fly like boosters don't buy. So what powers cowards to get them to the top? Just to fall asleep, listening to Bach.
No, it's funny. He's talking about chicken parm, right? He's connected chicken parmesan to cheese, right? Parmesan cheese to flying saucer cheese. But I don't know. There's something else there with flying saucer that I'm not catching, and I'm kind of mad at that. But look how he's connecting chicken, right, to the weather vane, like chicken on the barn, connecting it to chicken parm, that's connecting it to roosters and boosters. I wouldn't be surprised if he's also connecting this to listening to Bach, right? What does a chicken do? Bark, 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 right? So I think the wordplay there, and again, that's something about a good lyricist, right? We see that when people are able to not just like I listened to a lot of Akala recently, and he's referencing things much later in his rhyme scheme that correlate with things earlier in the rhyme, right? And I don't know if he's doing that because he's in the same mind frame while he's writing, if he's intentionally doing that, or that's just a point of reference. But I'd like to think if somebody's this knowledgeable about the world and they care this much about good music. I heard that Lupe Fiasco, he was struggling with his record label. I don't know exactly which record. I don't know how many he's put out, but I heard that he was actually like retiring. But somebody was trying to limit. It's just what you hear around Chicago. Like, yeah, what happened to Lupe Fiasco? People are like, man, he had some deals with a bad record deal or something like that. But I don't know too much about him. I know he's got family members. Family member are police, right? Police, detectives, state troopers. So it's kind of weird. hearing him talk about, he doesn't really talk about drugs and crime. I mean, he does, but I don't really know his catalog. Maybe he turned into a gangster rapper. But kick, push, kick, put, coast, right? Right? There wasn't like hood lyrics.
The ribbon in the sky is the ribbon that I drop.
Ribbon in the sky. Is he talking about like what's it called, a rainbow? I don't know yet. Or isn't that the name of what is that last James Bond movie? No, that's what's it? No, Skyfall. That's Skyfall.
Sleep, listen in the block. The ribbon in the sky is the ribbon that I drop. Dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock. That lacks meaning.
The rhythm in the sky. Now, this could be a reference. If he's referring this, we say he could be talking about music, right? He could be talking about people getting slept on. What did he say? You make it to the top just to what did he say? Fall asleep on Bach, right? Because "Ribbon in the Sky," that's actually a song. That's a Stevie Wonder song, "Ribbon in the Sky." It's about, now, if I haven't broken down his song, I haven't heard it in a while, but I believe it's about finding love after heartbreak. And it is about a rainbow, I think, or it's like seeing the beauty of a rainbow after growing through the rain, right? Like the sun will come out tomorrow, right? So the rhythm in the sky is the rhythm that I draw. Rhythm. Isn't that the Jamaican way of saying rhythm? A rhythm, man, right? I only know that because we've been doing some the Akala stuff, and he's from the UK, right? And I hear that, and he says rhythm, and he's talking about rhythm, but the accent from like it might not even be Jamaican, but let's run it back a little bit.
Dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock. That lacks meaning, but racks up stacks of fat reading the.
That's funny. It's the rhythm that I drop. It's the rhythm that I drop. That lacks meaning, right? So, this could obviously be about Stevie Wonder, but I believe, let's say this is about music and classic or that lacks meaning. So, let's say this is about rap, right? He's talking about, you get to the top, right? He's talking about people, their music getting slept on, let's say, right? He's this could be sellout rappers, right? We know Lupe Fiasco is all about the truth, right? Knowledge of the world around you. He's talked about social and political issues. I remember what did he say, that he didn't vote for Obama? Didn't he have that beef with Obama because they're both from Chicago, just like I am? And so I know he has talks about like socioeconomic issues, right? So he could be saying that weak rappers always get to the top, right? The people what's he saying right here? The lack meaning, right? So it could be people get to the top, which would make sense because where's the weathercock? Where's the weather vane, right? It's on top of the barn. So even if their music if it lacks meaning, like he's saying here, they still get to the top, but they sleep on more intellectual pieces like Bach, but could be like him, right? He's getting slept on because he might consider his music as intricate as Bach would consider his music, if I got that right. So ribbon in the sky, but is the rhythm that I drop. But then he says dribbling. But listen, look at what he's. Make sure I'm getting this right. I did not anticipate. I wonder if I chose one of his more dense songs. This is like a 9-minute song. But I'm up for the challenge.
Across the prism of a clock that lacks meaning, but racks up stacks of fat reading.
Dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock, right? What is a prism? Could be the what is it that I see now? See, now what I'm thinking is he said rhythm, right? He's obviously saying probably rhythm that I drop, but he's saying it wrong. But he's saying dribbling, right? If you think of a drivel, right? A drivel, DRI, VEL, right? Drivel. It actually means lacks meaning, right? Or it doesn't. There's no. It's like nonsense, if you would. And then he says right here, lacks meaning. So I wonder if that's a play on words, or it's at least there's got to be a double meaning. But he's telling you like, yo, I'm saying rhythm wrong. I'm probably saying dribbling wrong. But dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock. You think of dribble, right? I used to play basketball, so you think of dribbling a basketball. Um, that's what I would probably think of first. But I actually think of you think of how woke Lupe Fiasco is, and he could be talking about the Eye of the Providence, right? The Illuminati symbol. You have the it's actually the money that's it's on money, right? You got the pyramid with the eye, and then the prism, right? And that's called the eye of providence. It's the all-seeing eye. It's the eye. Again, the triangle. You can see it on any of your money. It's surrounded by rays of light, like a prism, right? Um, that could be one way of doing it. But again, if he's talking about rap, right? If he's talking about rap and he's talking about lack of meaning in rap, then he could be talking about dribbling the eye. It could be controlling your attention, right? Because when you're dribbling, what are you doing? Beep, beep, bing, bing. You're controlling where someone's going. You're controlling their movement. You're controlling how they defend you, right? So dribbling the eye, that's just, it could be a metaphor, right? That you're, like the ability to control someone's attention, right? You think of I don't want to just put Drake or somebody like that, Drake, Future, or whoever it is, your commercial rapper of today. But are they controlling where you look? Are they controlling what you see? Are they controlling the message? And this could also be a really similar meaning. You could be hypnotized, right? Dribbling the eye, right? It could be moving your eye back and forth across the prism of a clock. Think of a big clock, right? Like you see a cuckoo bird come out of, right? Cuckoo, cuckoo, like an old grandfather's clock, right? And someone comes out. Well, that's almost like a pendulum, right? Swinging. So dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock that lacks meaning, right? You could be listening to music. You could be listening to music that's getting you down or having you do bad things. If we think of Ribbon in the Sky, think of Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is blind, right? Stevie Wonder being blind. And now he's talking about dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock that lacks meaning. He could be saying like the masses are being hypnotized by things that lack meaning. They're blind, right? And they're just following the masses, following the trend. And again, we could be reaching there, but I think there's a reason he said ribbon in the sky, and I would definitely tie it to Stevie Wonder being blind, and in the context that I'm hearing this. But racks up stacks of fat reading.
The catch cross the prism of a clock that lacks meaning, but racks up stacks of fat reading. The catch cheap and wrapped up plants from trap lacks meaning, but racks up stacks of fat reading. The catch cheap and wrapped up plants from trap dealings. Now what's all asleep? Listen in the box. The ribbon in the sky is the ribbon that I drop. Dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock that lacks meaning, but racks up stacks of fat reading. The catch cheap and wrapped up plants from trap dealings.
Yeah, I think he's definitely talking about hip hop. Now, funny, random ass story is when I was younger, I actually rented a home and got a discount on it in Skokie, Illinois, that Chief Keef lived in right before me. And he actually got kicked out of Skokie and he moved to another kind of higher end suburb called Northbrook. And when he left when he left Skokie, he left this big king size leather bed, king size sectional. And I didn't even know this at first. The neighbors were telling me like all these cars and SUVs used to be parked in front. They had all these issues with them, but the city was the one that was pressuring the homeowner to get his name was the same as mine, Brandon, But I actually got a really big discount. I can't remember what it was. It was either $2,000 or $2,500 a month to rent this pretty good sized home with a good sized yard and kind of private entrances and all this stuff. But I got a discount on it because Chief Keef had to leave kind of middle of his arrangement with that owner. But it sounds like they're talking about Chief Keef now. Racks up stacks. That could be artists who are they're looking for their quick fame, right? They could be doing that. Back a few seconds here.
Racks up stacks of fat reading to catch Chief and wrapped up plants for trap dealings. Now what's the call?
Yeah, I would definitely think that racks up stacks of fat reading. Fat reading. It could be. I would think if it's in the same, if we are going to go with, okay, this is about hip hop, or this is about music, right? Because Stevie Wonder is not necessarily hip hop. But if they catch Chief and wrapped up plants from trap dealings, right? Chief Keef is known for that trap music, or the beginning of, what's the name of that music? But I think it might be trap. But I think there was just a different word for it. But racks up stacks of fat reading, that could be saying that he's racking up plenty of cash through endorsements, through media coverage. They're blowing up even though their music lacks meaning. Wrapped up plants, and Chief Keef, wrapped up plants. Obviously, he's known for smoking, right? From trap dealings. Oh yeah, they catch Keef. They create this vision of who you are, and it's funny because Chief Keef is also from Chicago. Lupe's from Chicago. Let's let it ride. Let's listen a bit more.
Reading to catch Chief and wrapped up plants for trap dealings. Now what's the coffin with a scratch ceiling? And what's the talking without the match feeling? That's berry living and cherry picking every lemon from your berry system, then proceed with the pack feeding. When I scratch ceiling. And what's trap dealings? Now what's the coffin with a scratch ceiling? And what's the talking without the match feeling? That's berry living and cherry picking every lemon.
That's good. Run it back.
From your trap dealings. Now what's the coffin with a scratch ceiling?
All right, so he moves from after talking about Chief Keef, he says, what's a coffin with a scratch ceiling? If the ceiling's scratched, you're buried alive, right? You're trying to get out. So it's either the afterlife and you're trying to get out, or you've been buried alive. And again, he could be using it as more of a metaphor, right? He's talking about these dudes that lack meaning. Their music lacks meaning, right? They're racking up stacks. They're racking up a following, media coverage, even though they don't have meaning. The ribbon in the sky, right? Stevie Wonder, they're blind, and they're dribbling the eye across the prism of a clock, right? So they could be getting hypnotized. So it sounds like he's talking about the state of hip hop, right? And people being vain, right? Talking about the weathercock. At the top, right? Being cocky at the top, vain, right? Vain, VAIN instead of vain, like shooting up vain. So that seems to be making sense, but as we keep letting it going back, I'm sure we'll be catching more here.
Wrapped up plants for trap dealings. Now what's the coffin with a scratch ceiling? And what's the talking without the match feeling? That's berry living and cherry picking every lemon from your berry system, then proceed with the pack feeding.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting way of putting it. What's a coffin with a scratch ceiling, right? You're trying to get out, but you're being buried alive, right? He could be trying to get out of a contract. I just mentioned that I heard that Lupe Fiasco was having some contract issues. He felt like they were trying to censor his unique creative abilities, right? They were trying to censor his wordplay. So he might feel like he's in a coffin, right? He's being buried alive. There's a lot weighing down on him. It's probably another way to interpret that. There's a scratch ceiling because he's trying to get out of whatever they got him in. What's the talking without the match feeling? In that same, if we're running with that context, what's all the talking mean? What do all the lyrics mean if it's not lit, right? what's the talking without the match, right? There's no spark. He's not sparking change. Why rap if I can't talk about the things that I want to talk about that are going to spark change in the world? Um, but also, if you're in a coffin, right, you're going to be looking for whatever you have. I guess last resort would be to set that bad boy on fire, and hopefully with enough time for you to get out and not die from inhaling too much smoke. But you might just want to be able to see, right? You're going to be pulling out your phone. You're going to be trying to see if you can see, man, are there any hooks? Is there an emergency release of this bad boy? But I guess you could do that with a lighter too, but only if you're a smoker. I don't know that I could see that happening, but I would think it's more of a metaphor, right? Because he's using other metaphors here. What's the talking? You're not going to be talking when you're down there. What's the talking without the match feeling? And I think match feeling, he's not talking about a literal fire. I think he's talking about a feeling, right? That what's all the talking without that spark? If I'm not feeling what I'm rapping about, what's the point, right? Buried living. He's being buried alive, right? While living alive. There's a wordplay there. But this is interesting, and I think this ties in to what we're talking about. Cherry picking. If you've ever played sports, I used to play basketball. Cherry picking is when you kind of cherry pick is you're not playing defense, right? You're just running immediately, or you're staying on the opposite side when you're running full court, as you want to get the easy basket, right? That's cherry picking. It's kind of your choice first of what you want to do versus what you should be doing. So they could be cherry picking his lines, right? Cherry picking songs that he wants to put on an album, right? They're controlling him. He feels like he's trapped. The weight of the world is on him. He's in a coffin, and it's scratched because he's trying to get out of whatever predicament they have him in. He's buried alive, buried living, and cherry picking every lemon from your berry system. Cherry picking every lemon. That's a weird thing to say, from your berry system. So they could be trying to get him to talk about things um, that are sour, right? So you got this whole, this is your selection. This is our berry system. Choose your berry, right? But they're cherry picking every lemon. Maybe they're giving him lemons. I would think of a lemon like a lemon car, right? Or like a lemon that's sour. But it could be saying, yo, they're cherry picking. They're giving me the bullshit. Maybe they want me they want to control the narrative, or they want to control my image. And I'm not having that, right? And then he said, then proceed with the pack feeding. It could be like leading pigs to be fed, right? Or leading cattle, like sheep, right? You're just get back in line. Come back in line. This is what you're going to rap about. This is how you're going to rap about it. Remember, come up with a catchy dance. Drop a few N-bombs. Drop a few F-bombs. Make sure to cock your hat. Wear some FUBU or whatever you young guys do. And let's get this out into the world and make people bob their heads and get some money, right? It sounds like that's what he's talking about. And I think I dated myself again with FUBU.
When I was young, I had every lemon from your berry system, then proceed with the pack feeding. When I was young, I had visions of another world, sneaking look.
Actually, that would tie in with what he was just saying about Chief Keef, right? Because he was talking about Chief Keef. If we're talking about people being hypnotized, people not having any vision, being like Stevie Wonder out here in the world, look at what happened to Chief Keef, right? This is a rapper that had his own following, built his own following online. But now anytime you see Chief Keef, it's always about something ignorant, right? He's smoking weed, partying, getting into it with cops, a drill music. That's the name of it. It's not, it's the drill music. But, who's controlling that image of him? Right? Is it him? Is it his label? Is it someone that's trying to further his career and their career? So that's just, it's really interesting. But it also makes me think of the dribbling reference, right? Because you dribble, that you could be trying to lead someone somewhere. So think about that, right? People are, you're leading them somewhere like dribbling, like you could lead the eye or lead their thought process. But you're wasting people's time as well, right? Because there's nothing to process. There's not a lot of depth. They're meaningless things, which he also said drivel, right? Or I'm saying there could be wordplay there, saying drivel, like literally something that's meaningless or nonsense. Could be talking about mumble rap too, right? So I think he's talking about people that are overrated, or the rappers that are getting in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, if you would, right? Their lyrics don't necessarily make sense, but they're still getting they lack substance, but they're racking up stacks, right? And they're still getting fat reading and media coverage and play. I think that's a good way of putting that.
Looks at the porn stash of my brother Herb. Was young, I had every lemon from your berry system, then proceed with the pack beating. When I was young, I had visions of another world. Sneaking looks at the porn stash of my brother Herb. Incense smoke made vortices and other curls, casting calls from porn films and ads. And cherry picking every lemon from your berry system, then proceed with the pack beating. When I was young, I had visions of another world. Sneaking looks at the porn stash of my brother Herb. Incense smoke made vortices and other curls.
See, that's really interesting because we just touched on that earlier. And what I do know about Lupe Fiasco is his family. He's got multiple family members that are police officers as well as state troopers, detectives. It's he's an educated young dude too, right? This isn't what you would know. It's not your stereotypical thug. I feel like you can't see my eyes there, right? He's not your stereotypical thug. So, listen to what he said. He said, when I was young, I had visions of another world, right? He probably thought he was going to follow in their footsteps. Again, he's a Chicago-born rapper, but I know he's got brothers and sisters. He at least has two brothers, from what I know. And I'm not sure if they're all police officers, but I know there's like a trooper, a cop, and a detective at the very least. That would be three right there. Actually, his father was some sort, I don't know if he was a sheriff or a state trooper as well. So I'm sure when he was young, he had visions of just living his life differently. And you can kind of see what he says, right? He says, sneaking looks at the porn stash of my brother Hurl, right? I don't know his brothers by name there, but think about the porn stash. That's something that's the police stash too, right? You got that Ron Jeremy, right? You got it's the or it could be the style of facial hair that kind of represents the handlebar mustache, right? Think about Chips, right? Or something like when you think of cops, motorcycle cops, but anyway, cops from the 80s or 90s, they all had that porn stash, which would make sense because he's talking about visions of another world. I don't think he was trying to be a porno star, right? He was trying to be a police officer, or at least had that vision that he would be.
Casting calls from porn films and ads the hurl. Incense smoke made vortices and other curls. Casting calls from porn films and ad space for rubber girls.
Rubber girls. So, different ways that I would, he said, incense smoke made vortices and other curls. Right? So, what is he talking about? He could be saying, because we're tying this in with, look at the bars right above it, right? He's saying he had visions of another world. He's talking about his brother's porn stash, so we're pretty sure he's talking about being a cop or some authority figure. But he said incense smoke. When I think of incense smoke, I think of a smoke screen, right? He could be referring to a smoke screen. He could be talking about that smoke, right? Smoking that loud, that green, that big loud, right? But made vortices, right? Vortices, there's different ways you could think of it, like a vortex. Vortices is it's a result of there's a difference in speed, right? You think of like a tornado forming, right? He might be talking about fluids. He could be talking about wind, right? When you get fast wind that moves over slow wind. You could be talking about a bunch of fluid, right? I don't know exactly how he's thinking of this yet, but it gets that whirling or circular motion and it forms a vacuum in the center, right? You think of like a tornado, what it's doing. So he's that's just a weird way of thinking about something, but it could tie in with the vision of doing something else with his life, right? He already talking about being a cop, but a smoke screen, right? What is a smoke screen? It's like a ruse, or it's designed to disguise someone's real intentions. Um, or it could be both sides that are starting to come together, right? Or he could be telling you he's an undercover agent, a narc, a DEA agent, CIA, working for the other team. But I think this is more like a smokescreen, a ruse. He's disguising himself, and he ended up coming out the other side something different instead of a cop. But he did say, was it the? Did he say the ball of yarn? Let me just run that back real quick. In the beginning, he said something I want to reference here.
Yeah.
Long intro.
We're all chemicals, vitamins and minerals, and Vicodin within the tubes wrapped around the arm. To see the vein like a chicken on the bond. Top cat chat, let's begin another yarn.
Let's begin another yarn, right? And again, we're talking about intertwining, right? How things connect. And this could be his connection between two worlds, right? That he has to kind of start a new ball of yarn. He thought he was going to be living life as a police officer, and then hip hop got a hold of him, right? And now, how do you intertwine those two? He's still the same person, but I thought that was just a good way to connect that. But let's go back a bit here.
Cutting swirls, my brother Hurl. Incense smoke made for this and other curls. Casting calls for porn films and ad space for rubber girls.
Casting calls from porn films and ad space for rubber girls. You know, he could be saying something like, casting calls from porn films. Yeah, that's a way he could be talking about in rap or in life. That women are, you know, what does Drake say? These girls, women want to give it to me like I owe them one, right? It sounds like he's talking about getting women, maybe. Casting calls from porn films, right? What happens when you get the little casting couch? You're about to smash, right? Let me see what it do, boo, right? Let me see what you're working with. Show me what you would do in a movie. Unzip, right? And just, but, you know, I don't know. Casting calls from porn films and ad space for rubber girls. All right, what are rubber girls? Rubber girls can mean, you know, he could be talking about there's so much, you know, rubber girls, I like my pancakes cut in swirls. Now, he could be talking about how difficult things are, right? Like he's a very, again, we talked about intertwine. We talk about his two worlds intertwining. He says, casting calls for porn films and ad space for rubber girls. I like my pancakes cut in swirls. You can't, it's very hard to cut in a swirl. Imagine a swirl on a pancake, right? A mixture of some sort. If you're cutting in a circular motion, that's extremely difficult and complex to do. They could be saying like, yo, I'm more difficult than you can imagine, right? Imagine cutting something in a swirl. Still playing on Vortex, right? But there's so much money. There's easy money and easy girls. Maybe he's being tempted to do things differently, but he's more complex, right? Casting calls from porn films, right? Or girls are looking for a man like him to fuck. So it's a casting call, if you would, right? It's not a literal. He's not starting a porn empire, right? I think it's a casting call because maybe that's all he has to do. People just have to line up girls for him, right? But they're willing to do anything literally and figuratively to bend to be what he wants. So it's very easy to meet women right now, right? They're rubber girls. I think that would be a good way of interpreting that for now. That's my interpretation anyway.
I like my pancakes cut in swirls. Moroccan moles and undercover squirrels. I like my pancakes cut in swirls. Moroccan moles and undercover squirrels. I like cartoons.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, is that a cartoon reference? I believe that's another Hanna-Barbera cartoon, right? Let's run it back just a bit so I can.
Cars for porn films and ad space for rubber girls. I like my pancakes cut in swirls. Moroccan moles and undercover squirrels. I like cartoons, southern cities with large moons, faith healers, ex-female drug.
See, that's really funny what he says, because I was just referencing, he was talking about he had visions of living his life differently, right? And he talks about the incense or the smoke, almost like a smoke screen. I was joking that, hey, what if he's an undercover agent, DEA, CIA, gang squad, some sort of gang police, right? Some sort of specialty, because he can infiltrate the city of Chicago or these urban areas. Because that's actually funny that he references this Moroccan mole and undercover squirrel, because we just talked about how his dad, I believe, he wasn't a cop, but he was some sort of law enforcement. It was either a sheriff or state trooper. I believe one of his brothers is a cop and somebody else is a detective. So he would definitely have it in that way. When he says Moroccan roll, this is a Moroccan Mole. It's actually kind of a funny series, but Moroccan Mole, Secret Squirrel. Secret Squirrel, Moroccan Mole. Yeah, Moroccan Mole was the chauffeur for Secret Squirrel. And that was at least what they kind of, he used to drive him around to somewhere called I think it was the International Sneaky Space Station or so, and he'd wait outside. And then, Secret Squirrel would get the mission. And then Moroccan Mole would say, I'll wait good like a faithful friend should, right? And then during the missions, he would help out. And, things would always backfire and they get the show, right? But there are different episodes. So when you're watching this, it appears like, let's say he's reporting for duty, and then Morocco Mole does, and he comes up, and it sounds like he's not just a sidekick or a chauffeur, but he's actually an agent as well, which is like, right? And that man, I don't know. I don't want to be calling Lupe Fiasco a narc, right? But he could be talking about this vision that he had for himself and this ruse or this smoke screen that he has to put up. That would be interesting, because Morocco, he actually has an evil twin, right? I don't remember his name, but it's also some play on mole. They used to appear under the same name. And it was actually the brothers would team up, and they would act as like double agents, and there was some weird stuff going on. Again, I think it's just really funny that he's referencing that. And that's also another Hanna-Barbera reference, just like we were talking about earlier. But it's so hard, I'd love to find some little Easter egg like that. But it's so hard because so many cartoons have origins with Hanna-Barbera, right? Not just Tom and Jerry, but, Captain Planet, and, we are Planeteers. You could be one too. Saving our planet is the thing to do. Looting and polluting is not the way. Hear what Captain Planet has to say. The power is yours. Earth, wind, right? They break it down. Water, they do the different elements. But these are cartoons that you don't really hear about, right? That modern or younger generation hip-hop heads probably won't be able to reference this, but someone in our age group probably can. Let's let it ride a bit.
Squirrels. I like cartoons, southern cities with large moons, faith healers, ex-female drug dealers, and art bombs.
Ooh, damn, he just laid it out there. Let me tell you what I like.
Pancakes cutting swirls. Moroccan moles and undercover squirrels. I like cartoons, southern cities with large moons, faith healers, ex-female drug dealers, and art bombs.
That's could he be talking about moon-shaped asses, right? Juicy ass butts, thick, fine ass ladies in the South, right? He could be, I don't know. Let me just run it back.
Southern cities with large moons, Moroccan moles and undercover squirrels. I like cartoons. Southern cities with large moons, faith healers, ex-female drug dealers, and art bombs.
Yeah, because it definitely sounds like he's describing women, or he's describing himself to a woman, right? He's saying, I like cartoons, but southern cities with large moons, faith healers, ex-female drug dealers, and art booms, right? So yeah, we could definitely define those things, but it almost sounds like he's explaining what he wants in women, right? I don't want porn film, casting call type chicks or rubber girls. I want girls that are involved with something. But I like cartoons. He could be telling us what he likes as well. That's just a funny way to put it. But I do want to clarify too. He said something in here that I don't want people to get this the wrong way. He said, I like large moons, and I've actually heard it before. Normally it's from a kid, but they say, that the moon is so. Let's just clarify. We all see the same moon, right? We only have one moon here. Let's just start there. But I think what he's referring to by saying that, if he's not talking about girls and that ass, right? I think he's talking about perspective, right? Because we've already talked about vain, and these things. All right, I had to give her another cookie there for a second. But yeah, let's run it back just a few seconds. Let's listen to it.
Southern cities with large moons, faith healers, ex-female drug dealers, and art bombs.
Yeah, I got to go through that. So people, he said south, so I would imagine if he's talking about southern cities, I would imagine he's still talking about the U.S., right? And he's just talking about the South. That's why I was referring it to girls from the South. But people, this is a real fun fact. People in the northern and southern hemispheres, they actually see the moon differently from one another, right? It's not just a change in phase. It's more, it's like the opposite, if you would, right? It's a change in the orientation of the moon with respect to where the horizon is, right? So people in the northern and the southern hemisphere, they're going to see the moon upside down, right, with respect to one another. So you can see, like, imagine, right, the northern hemisphere, if you see let's say a waxing moon, right, it's got a new moon to full moon, and it's increasing, it should be going from, its phase would go from right to left, right? But if you're in the southern hemisphere, a waxing moon, right, again, new moon to full moon, it's going to be increasing its phase from left to right, right? It's exactly the opposite. It's an interesting one to break down. I don't think he's getting into anything too in depth, right? You would think of, you can also think of, what is it called? Onirology. It's the study of dreams, right? If you were actually dreaming of the moon, which you might be doing, I guess, if you're actually writing lyrics, the moon is more than likely you, right? Planets and dreams, they say they're symbols of ourselves. So the earth is one part of you, the moon is another. So, this could, your dreams could be telling you you're mad, or you're mad at yourself. Your dreams could be telling you that you're afraid, or it could want you to become one with the earth. There's a lot of, again, it's the study of dreams. I'm not really too familiar with it, but I don't think he's talking about that. It's funny that he says art booms, faith healers, ex-female drug dealers. There could be some wordplay too, where he says, when you say art boom, when you think of boom art, right? This is something where I used to like customizing my son's, when he was much younger. He's in 8th grade now, but I used to customize his little Jordans when I'd buy him, and he was going to school in Chicago. And I had an artist that could do like Pokemon on them, and it looked like it was all part of the Jordan. It was sick. But I came across something called Boom Art. Boom Art, it's an actual business, but they do skateboards and surfboards, but they do really custom, unique designs. With Lupe being a skateboarder with the previous album, the only other track I know, Kick Push, I wonder if there could be some wordplay there with that. This is interesting. I think we all know faith healers, right? Women of God, ex-female drug dealers, right? I think we all know what that is as well. Let's run it back.
curls. I like my pancakes cut in swirls. Moroccan moles and undercover squirrels. I like cartoons, southern cities with large moons. Faith healers, ex-female drug dealers, and art bones. Apologize for my weird mix. What tastes like hot dogs and teardrips. It looks like pens.
Apologize for my weird mix. What tastes like hot dogs in teardrips. Now, those are opposites. Again, could he be talking about perspective, right? What does it mean if you were to read the dictionary and you go to define hot dog, right? People use hot dog differently. Yeah, it could be like happy, like you're at a baseball game or whatnot. But a lot of people use it as an interjection, right? They'll say hot dog, right? Think of Mickey Mouse, right? Hot dog. He does a little dance, I think, when he says hot dog, hot diggity dog, right? It's normally meant to express delight or approval. But a teardrip, obviously, I think we know that's sad, right? I guess it could be happy too. There's some wordplay there. He's saying a weird mix. That's probably what he's wanting in a woman, right? A real mix, someone who's happy and sad, but maybe he's saying I apologize for my weird mix, but he's talking about what he wants in a woman, and that would definitely be a weird mix.
Pantomime and clear bricks, and Smith dogs and teardrips. It looks like pantomime and clear bricks. It smells like shotguns and deer piss. They only hunt, kinda salty that I'm going hard. First part of a party that I throw in party.
Pantomime. That's yeah, I don't know if that's what he's saying. Let me run it back.
Kinda salty that I'm going hard. First like some teardrips. It looks like pantomime and clear bricks. It smells like shotguns and deer piss. They only hunt.
So he's saying pantomime, and you might be asking, what exactly is a pantomime? You don't really see it today anymore, but it's part of like theatrical entertainment, if you would, versus it's like the arts. It's mainly, at least how I know it, it's mainly for children. It's like basic comedy, music, jokes, fairy tales, nursery stories. The only time that I've ever seen something like this, it's normally revolving around the holiday season, normally around Christmas. So it's just really interesting that he says that. But I wonder if he's like, huh? If we go back, and I kind of forgot that we were saying that this might, trying to explore what this might mean if he's talking about music, right? Because in the beginning, I definitely I could think that he was talking about music and picking apart music, and then the Stevie Wonder reference, people in vain, people getting to the top that don't have the right credentials, if you would. But he could be apologizing for his weird mix, right? What tastes like hot dogs and teardrips. Because pantomime, right? We said pantomime is theatrics, if you would. And think about how he's saying that, like clear bricks, right? What are clear bricks, right? You think you can get somewhere, but you really can't. So you're kind of like you're still in that coffin, right? Scratching to get out with the weight on your shoulder or the weight of all the dirt on the coffin, right? Because if you're seeing clear bricks, you might be able to see your vision, but it doesn't mean you can get to your vision, right? Which would make sense with pantomime or the theatrics, right? Being for kids, kind of comedy, not taken seriously, only around the holidays. He could be saying like, "Yo, I have to do what I have to do what I want to do," right? Maybe he was obligated to do. When they make these deals with artists, keep in mind most of these recording artists are broke from the hood, right? It's not like they're making sound relevant decisions with a lawyer. It's normally these deals aren't in their best interest. Now I know I've definitely heard that he was struggling with the lyrics and releasing the type of music that he wanted to release. This really could be a metaphor for that. So we can extract from that too. He could feel like this is more like a minstrel show, right? He could feel like the kids love it when he acts a certain type of way. There's even a market for it, but there's still clear bricks, right? Again, he can see his vision, but it might as well be blocked by bricks, which it is, right? Because he can't do it. He can see it, but he can't advance going in this direction. I think that could be a great way to continue the same message if he is talking about his music and his frustration with music.
And clear bricks. It smells like shotguns and deer piss. They only hunt.
Now, when we talk about